Don't feel like you aren't allowed to grieve your situation. Grief is not only something that happens when you lose someone. Grief is not only something that happens when someone dies. Grief can be for anything. All right, so we back with another video. I feel like this is an important conversation for us to have, so let's just get straight into it.
It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Whatever God want me to go through, let's do it. I'm gonna do it chin up, chest out. If my head drop for a minute, don't mind me. I'm gonna pick that motherfucker back up.
Do you ever give yourself? Do you ever give yourself a time to grieve? I mean, between your pops and your brother, like
I don't. When I grieve by hustling, I trying to keep myself busy. You see what I'm saying?
That's a trauma response, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's just what it is. You know, that's just what I know. Like I said, I was raised by a strong black woman. You know what I'm saying? She had 3 of us, so why y'all think baby? People think baby's such a menace, such a this. I was the good boy out of my brothers. I was the baby. Yeah, I was the good boy. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, my mama raised three boys.
I feel like as black men, we do this all the time, bro. Like, not all of us, man, but a lot of us embody this same kind of mentality when it comes to grief and dealing with our trauma. And we feel like we need to grind our trauma away, or that we can hustle it away. If we stay busy enough, that eventually that'll lead to us not thinking about it. And so out of sight, out of mind. And that's not how trauma works, man. That's not how trauma works. Like, your trauma is not gonna go away just because you're not thinking about it and just because you're hustling. Trust and believe me, I tried that for years, bro. When I was going through my breakup in 2017, which led to like this period of depression, because I wasn't grieving properly, I was super depressed, which led to suicidal ideations and me not actually healing. And what I'm trying to tell y'all is like, yo, you gotta grieve, bro. You have to grieve. There is nothing wrong with grieving.
It's fine.
And I think a lot of us are scared of grief. We're scared of going through the process of grieving because we don't know what it will look like for us. We don't trust ourselves enough. We feel like we're either gonna flip out or not be able to operate and function. And what I'm trying to tell you is like, that's not how it has to be. You grieving does not mean that you won't be able to function in your life. It just means that you're giving yourself an opportunity to be a human being, because that's what you are, man. Like, don't dehumanize yourself. Don't strip yourself of the time that you need to really get yourself right after experiencing something that's traumatic. And don't feel like you aren't allowed to grieve your situation. Grief is not only something that happens when you lose someone. Grief is not only something that happens when someone dies. Grief can be for anything. Like, I've grieved relationships, romantic relationships, platonic relationships with friends. I didn't grieve those relationships because someone died. I grieved those relationships because I lost those relationships in the moment. Me and a partner broke up. Me and a friend weren't as close as we used to be. And so I realized I had to go through the process of grieving a romantic relationship. And then as I got older, I had to go through the process of grieving a platonic relationship with friends that I felt like would be there for the long haul that weren't there anymore because we grew apart. And I think as black men, we don't allow ourselves the opportunity to grieve because we see it as either weak or not necessary in our situation. And I'm trying to tell you, like, yo, bro, it is necessary. You do need to do it.
It's the right thing to do.
It is okay for you to take a break. I'd actually say it's essential and it's required when you go through something traumatic. Like, taking your mind off of it is not a healthy way to approach something traumatic. Take it from me, man. I did it in 2017. I always tell everybody that I do a podcast episode with, I tell them the story about how I got into mental health advocacy. And it was because in 2017, after I was experiencing my breakup, I did not know how to heal. And what I did was, when I started experiencing suicidal ideations, I tried to take my mind off of everything that I was experiencing by learning a bunch of different things. And that has its pros and its cons. The pros are, you do take your mind off of what you're experiencing. You do take your mind off of what's happening and the trauma that you have endured. And you do learn something new, and you do get to transfer that energy in some way to learn something new that can be beneficial for you. So I won't say that that's a completely negative thing to do, but the cons are you don't ever actually really deal with the internalized emotions and the feelings that you have as a result of what happened. And so as a result, those emotions are always going to be there. They may subside for a little bit as you take your mind off of what you're experiencing, but over time, they will mount and mount and mount and continue to mount until you learn how to release them. And that process of releasing them is grieving. You have to cry. You have to journal. You have to talk about what you're experiencing. Like, these things I feel like are super necessary. And everybody's grieving process is different. I'm just trying to tell y'all what worked for me. Crying worked for me, bro. I used to cry, and I still cry here and there because crying is a release. We've been lied to about crying as men. Everybody says crying is weak.
That's a damn lie.
Crying is actually healthy. Crying is natural. It is your body's way of rebalancing your emotions.
Yes!
That's why you can cry when you're mad. You can cry when you're sad. You can cry when you're super happy, because your body is rebalancing. And if you look at tears and their chemical makeup, they are made up of different things depending on the situation in which caused you to cry. So please do not think crying makes you weak. It is actually necessary. It is a self-soothing behavior. It helps you to deal with your grief. Crying was huge for me. Another thing that was huge for me is expressing what I was experiencing and what I was thinking about. So I would do that in a multitude of ways. I would do that by talking to people. I would do that by video journaling, something similar to this, me just sitting in front of a camera and talking about what I'm experiencing. I would do that by audio journaling, literally just having my phone, opening up the voice notes app and just making a bunch of voice notes so I could talk through what I was experiencing. And I would do that by journaling, similar to what I do on the Express Yourself Black Man IG page. By the way, if you're not following, you should definitely be following the page. But similar to what I do on the page, I would just journal about what I was feeling in the moment to get my thoughts out. You can do journaling so many different ways. You can do video, audio, digital, written. There are so many different ways to get those emotions or feelings out instead of internalizing them or trying to keep them out of sight and out of mind, because over time that just exacerbates the effect that they have on you. I think this interview was really dope. I wanted to share just this clip because I feel like a lot of us do this as Black men, where we don't give ourselves enough time to grieve after we experience something traumatic, and I don't feel like that's the healthiest thing for us to do, man. I don't feel like that puts us in a good position mentally. A lot of us feel like we aren't allowed to grieve because we're the head of the household and we have all these different responsibilities, but if you don't take time to take care of you, bro, how you gonna take care of everybody else?
That's correct.
We always talk about not pouring from an empty cup, man. You got to refill your cup. And the way that you do that is by making sure that you get rid of everything else that's stopping you from doing that. And not grieving is, I think, one of the quickest ways to empty your cup, man. I think that's a huge problem that we have, man, is like, we don't take this time, man. Like, we don't take that time that we really need when we are going through some stuff that's traumatic, man. All right, man. So that's it. That's all I wanted to come to y'all with, is just this conversation on grief. I think it's important. We don't grieve properly and we don't take the time to grieve, and I think it's a detriment to our mental health. And so I wanted to bring it up. If y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever the case may be, drop them in the comments and let me know how y'all feel. As always, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube. You should see something popping up right over there. And if you're not following us on Instagram, please follow us on Instagram. You should see something popping up right over there. With that being said, Black man, it's okay to not be okay, because it is. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. A shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. No, you need to hear it, my brother, I love you. We got way too much to live for. We got way too much to